Good morning, everyone. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and I am about to graduate with my degree in electrical and computer engineering from Oregon State University. So I have about 4 more weeks right now. And one of the things which I am extremely worried about is my ability to be able to get a job after I graduate. So I went into electrical engineering not because I like it. Actually, I hated it. I hated all engineering, but I went into electrical specifically because I was like, it has the largest, in terms of the pay range, it's towards the highest, and it has the largest market. And so I was like, okay, well, it's not something that's really high paid, but it's extremely niche, like petroleum engineering. It has a fairly big job market and is also high paying, so I selected that one. But now that I'm about to graduate, I'm getting more and more worried about my actual ability, and for multiple reasons. Firstly, I don't actually think that I know very much. um, so there's many different problems with electrical engineering, the actual degree. One of them is that it is so broad that you don't actually learn anything. So you learn a little bit about transmission lines, you learn a little bit about signals, you learn a little bit about electronics, and then you essentially also need to get a computer science degree, right? So you learn about data structures and algorithms and programming and operating systems and assembly language. So you have so many different aspects which you can or which you have to learn that you don't actually become good at anything. And what I've noticed there's a huge difference between the electrical engineering classes which I've taken, like transmission lines and signals and systems, and a lot of those ECE classes, versus my computer science classes that I've had to take. Electrical engineering is extremely theoretical. So you're going to be learning mathematical equations and essentially just uh, trying to model a phenomenon, whatever it is, right? Like transmission lines, it will be you're given a certain frequency, and that frequency is over a length, and you know the length, and then you're trying to figure out what the imaginary reflected power is going to be at a given position, right? So you're going to just be mathematically modeling this situation, either transmission lines or like signals and systems. So you're trying to take a signal which is analog, so that's the world that we see around us. You're trying to digitize it, so you're going to be sampling it, and you want to make sure that it's not losing its the highest frequency which you care about. So you sample it at the Nyquist sampling rate, and then you can digitize it. So you're mathematically modeling whichever one of those situations you're trying to do, and then you're just doing problems about mathematics. It's essentially a mathematics degree, and that's electrical, but computer science is extremely different. Instead of just doing mathematical models, computer science, you do a lot of projects. So every single CS class that I do, it is all of your homework assignments. There's no problems. You're not doing math. You are writing a program which implements what you are learning in class. And so, computer science, you have a much better understanding of what you're actually doing because for my electrical classes, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of like looking at the equations, filling stuff in, and then handing it in, and I get a good grade back. And it's not very, like, it's not very conducive to actually understanding the material. And so, in each of my classes, I don't actually think that I don't want to say anything, but I don't think I learned very much. I don't have a good understanding. I'll put it that way. Whereas my classes, which I have taken for computer science, are completely different. I have a much better understanding of each of those subjects, and I know them in depth. Like, okay, a linked list, what is it? Well, I can explain exactly what it is. I can explain what its advantage is, how to implement it, how to create it, how to use it, when to use it, where to use it, why do you. I understand all of that. Machine learning, right? I took a machine learning class. Again, I have a much deeper understanding of the different algorithms which machine learning utilizes. Whereas transmission lines or electronics, I remember something about GM. I can't even remember. It was something about the gain of a transistor, and you put it into a like network, and then trace it. I remember the professor saying like walk the dog, like to find the final like gain. I don't know. I don't know why I was doing it. I don't know what its application is. I don't know where you would use it. I have no idea. I was just following the equations. Okay. The professor gave us a sheet with equations and said, okay, well, here's the transistor. There's the three different gates, right? And then just do your equations. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. And especially right now, that's not very useful because you would just have software model everything. So that's one of the big things which I am worried about is I don't feel competent in any of the electrical engineering subjects which I have studied. It's very broad and it's very theoretical. And in addition, most of the jobs for electrical engineering I think are very specialized in a way in which you need a master's or preferably a PhD. So if you're planning to get a PhD in something, I actually would suggest electrical engineering because it is so broad and your undergraduate degree is going to give you a really good like base and you're going to be able to figure out like, oh, I enjoy this. And by the way, you're going to be very good at math. So you're going to have a very good base and you're going to be able to look at what you enjoy. And then you're going to be able to go towards that specific field in your PhD program. But if you are not planning on immediately going into a graduate program, I would not suggest electrical engineering at all. Computer science is the way to go. You're going to learn much more. You are going to be able to apply what you're learning. And there's going to be more jobs open because in the past, I think electrical engineering was very useful because it was a new subject, right? Circuits had just like 1950s, you're getting into the golden age of circuitry and creating different devices, and all of these companies are doing a lot of research and trying to figure out how to make their specific device. Whereas right now it's not very hot because it's already been created. There's already so many different uh, devices, and they already have like the optimal arrangement, and so why change it? And if you do want to change it, again, that's something that a PhD would do, right? So it's much more specialized. So yeah, I'm fairly worried about my ability to get a job. And the other thing which I noticed in electrical engineering is that they have this system which computer science doesn't have, which I call failing through. So for my signals and systems class, I remember midterm one, I got a 20%. 20%. but I was above the average. I ended up getting an A in the class. Does that mean I actually understand the material? Well, obviously not. I got a 20%. But I got an A in the class because all of my other classmates failed. Well, not failed, but I mean also failed, right? 20%. That's significantly below an F. That's an F of an F. So everyone else was near me, and I was a little bit better than everyone else. And so I got an A, and maybe they got a B, right? Does that represent that we actually understand the material? No. Whereas computer science, you have your project, right? Whatever you need to do to implement whatever you're learning in class, just do it. You have to do it, right? And if you don't understand it, go to the professor. Hey, office hours. You hit those office hours. You eventually learn it, right? Whereas the other ones, you kind of just like electrical engineering kind of has this mentality of like make it as difficult as possible and just let the curve deal with it. I don't know how universities would really fix that, but it's just an observation that I've made. Um, yeah, so my suggestion regarding electrical engineering, if you're going to go towards like your PhD, electrical is a very good choice. If you want to get a job directly out of college, I would suggest computer science. It's much more uh, non-theoretical. It's much more practical. Okay, higher job market. It's also more fun, but that's a personal thing, right? Like I enjoy computer science a little bit more than I do electrical. And yeah, that's my suggestion. Do computer science if you want to get a job at the bachelor's level. If you have something very specific like oh I want to go into electromagnetism, like you love magnets. Okay, then do electrical. But other than that, uh computer science is the way to go. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. I'm going to be making more videos talking about my experience once I actually do graduate. Like, am I just being kind of over dramatic, or uh, are my concerns valid? So I'll see if I am able to get a job. I'll go through my experience actually searching. Yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching and have a wonderful day.